Hey there, today I'm going to teach you how to do these beginner-friendly foundational embroidery stitches. We'll start off with straight stitch. Straight stitch is the most basic embroidery stitch. You're literally just coming up through one point and going down through the other. So basically point A to point B. Typically, you probably wouldn't be stitching quite this long of a stitch length, but I just wanted to show you that it's just kind of a straight line. More typically, I find that I stitch about a 1 centimeter stitch length, so something more like this. In addition to being any possible length, a straight stitch can go in any direction. So moving along to backstitch. Backstitch is a popular outlining stitch and just kind of helps you do like a straight line. So you're going to come up through the fabric and then you're going to do about a stitch length, which for me is about 1 centimeter, and you're going to go back down through the fabric. You're going to pop back up in front about another stitch length ahead, and then you're going to come back down through the tail end of your previous stitch, hence the back stitch. And you're just going to repeat that process. The key to a nice looking back stitch is to have even stitch lengths. So the next stitch we'll look at is running stitch. Running stitch is just very basic, up through the fabric and then back down. And you're going to be leaving like an interval of space between each stitch. For this one, the key to a nice looking running stitch is to have the consistency of the stitch length and also consistency of the space in between or the interval in between. You can use running stitch for a variety of things. It can be used as an outlining stitch as well. It's super easy. So now moving on to everybody's favorite, the French knot. This one can be really tricky at first. You're going to come up through the fabric, and then you're going to take your non-dominant hand and you're going to hold out a few inches of the floss, and then you're going to wrap once, twice, and come back down through the fabric close to where you came up, but not the same hole, all the while holding that tight tension with your non-dominant hand all the way until the very last moment. And that's the key to a nice, crisp French knot. So I'll just demonstrate that again before switching to show you how to do a chunkier French knot. So for those two knots, I used 3 strands of floss. Now I'm going to show you how to do a larger French knot by using all 6 strands of floss. It's the exact same process, but you've got more floss, so that means your knot is going to be double the size. And lastly, I'll show you how to do a knot that isn't as tidy. Some people prefer this look. It just, you'll see, so it's the same process. So you're wrapping once, twice, going back down through the fabric. But instead of holding that tension tight, I'm just gonna be casual about it and pull it down, and you'll see it's a little bit more loose. Moving on to satin stitch. Sorry, I had a little lapse in filming there, but you're just coming up to the fabric and you're going from point A to point B, just like a straight stitch. But the idea is that your stitches are flat and close together and they are smooth like satin. So you're just basically, you can use satin as a filler stitch. So if you have an object such as this rectangle that you need to fill in and you want the stitches to look nice and flat, satin stitch is a good option for filling in. So moving on to split stitch. Split stitch is a lot like back stitch, but you'll see there's a key difference. So you come up through the fabric, you're gonna do about 1 stitch length, so about 1 centimeter, and come back down. And then you're just gonna hop up a 1/2 stitch length, and you're gonna come down through the very middle of your previous stitch as opposed to the tail end, hence the splitting of the stitch. This is probably the best outlining stitch because if you have to like maneuver around a small corner or something, the stitch length is so small, there's so much flexibility, so you can do curves really easily with split stitch as opposed to back stitch where your stitches are typically a little bit longer. So split is a good option if you are outlining something like letters where you're going to encounter a lot of curves. So next up we'll do the lazy daisy stitch. I have done a back stitch stem there because I want to show you how well this works for leaves and petals. Come up through the fabric at the bottom of your leaf shape, and then you're going to come down through the fabric in the same hole that you came up in, and there'll be a loop that appears on the fabric. Like, don't pull it all the way through. And then you're going to go to the top of your leaf and go through the middle of the loop like so. Pull it tight but not too tight, and then you're just going to do a little stitch securing it at the top there. And I'm just going to actually show you how to use it for petals as well. It's the same process. I filled the daisies middles in with French knots. So up through the fabric, down through the same hole. You're going to leave the loop on the top of the fabric, hop up to the top of the petal, and just make sure you're going through the loop. And pull it down, not too tight. Oh. Sometimes it gets a little tangled. And then just that small stitch to secure it. So next you're going to do the woven wheel or wagon wheel stitch. To start this one, this is the one that you do to get like that nice pretty rose. To start this one, you're going to use straight stitch to make 5 equal points that resemble a star. I don't recommend you do too big of a circle for this. The larger your rose shape, the more difficult it gets at the end to do the actual weaving part. So like, yeah, I wouldn't go much bigger than the one that I am demonstrating. Once you finish the star shape, you're going to come up through the fabric close to the middle, but not exactly in the middle. It doesn't matter which side. Now we're going to be working on top of the fabric to weave our rose. So we're going to skip every other and we're going to go underneath. So see, I'm going under the first one here. And this is kind of, you have to be careful because you don't want to snag any of the floss. And then I'm skipping one length and I'm going to go under the next. One of the most important things for the success of your wagon wheel is that you don't pull tight ever. If you pull the floss tight at any point, you basically will end up with like a little shriveled rose. So just be very aware of that and just be really gentle. Making a rose requires a lot of floss, so if you run out of floss, just go down through the fabric and tie your knot, then come back up really close to where you went down, like I'm doing here, and just continue to weave. So you just have to remember kind of thing like which one you left off, and remember to go every other. Moving on to fishbone stitch, this is my favorite stitch to use for leaves because it just gives them a really nice texture. You're going to come up through the top of your leaf shape and then you're going to go down. I usually go about a third or a half way down, so like a straight stitch. Pull it nice and tight. And then you're going to pop back up. It doesn't matter which side you start on, but right next to kind of like where you came up, but also following that leaf shape down. And you're going to repeat a straight stitch, but it's just going to cross over a tiny bit the tail end of your first stitch. And then you're going to jump to the other side and you're going to do the same thing, and that stitch is going to cross over the tail end of that previous stitch. And you're just going to work back and forth, following the shape of your leaf. And you'll see as I do this, the result is kind of like a nice spine look in the middle of the leaf that gives it like a realistic quality. And there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video helpful, and now you have some great new embroidery stitches to start your projects. If there's any stitches you'd like to see me do, drop them in the comments.